많이 많이 많이
모닝 LPI.
Welcome back, guys, to SSL Premier. We are about to jump into our third match of the night, and definitely the best one here. Stats versus INnoVation, two champions of this year. INnoVation taking IM Gyeonggi, Stats taking GSL.
That's
It's going to be a good one.
Very close in terms of head-to-head results in Legacy of the Void. INnoVation's win over Stats at the IEM Finals was one of the most one-sided series that have ever existed in Legacy of the Void in terms of Grand Finals. It was a sweeping 4-0. Stats lost the momentum early in that series. We'll see if this one ends up being a closer best of three. But two recent champions, Stats defending GSL and INnoVation, the only Intel Extreme Masters Korea champion there's ever been. Afterwards, we'll of course have Solar versus Alive, the ZVT here. And that one should be a decent match as well. Solar the big favorite there, but Alive has looked quite strong this season. And of course, we have one more after that, which will be between Zest and Dark. So I want to bring that one up in just a moment, because Dark winning was going to be really important actually for Patience, but with his loss here, it doesn't matter actually in terms of their results. So
it means that Dark and Alive are in a good place, because Maru and Patience, the other two guys that are tied at 4-4. So with those two not having great matchups, to say it very politely, definitely Alive and Dark have a big opportunity here to get a better seed than them and have a better shot here going into the fast lane.
Zest 1-9 in his last 10 games as well. Just a horrible record in SSL, and his terrible performance in the group stage of the GSL. He is in his worst shape ever. So Dark is massively favored. It's one of his best matchups. Some would say he's his best ZVT, some would say his best ZVP, but either way, he's great at ZVP, and we'll talk more about that later as we swing back into defending GSL champion Stats. 3 achievements here. Had a rough start to the SSL Premier, but he's definitely stepped it up since then. Has won several matches in a row.
4 in a row.
Yep, so this could be his 5th.
Zest, Patience, Alive, and Biol. And Biol, he's one of those guys that was on top. That loss was actually kind of surprising that he took up against Stats, but Stats really pulling it through. And here is INnoVation. He actually took a loss against Patience, which was definitely a big shocker, but outside of that, only losing 1-2 to Solar, and doing very, very well in all of his other matches, mostly 2-0s.
If he wins this match, he will go directly to the Grand Finals as well. He will secure his first place spot. He will go skip the playoff pennant race rounds and will go straight to the Grand Finals. So INnoVation is the most favored player since the beginning of this tournament, really, to go to those finals. And now with this rematch here, if he wins it, he will be one of our 2 finalists. Stats wants to change that, though, and this is going to be a really good one. The maps: Newkirk Precinct, Abyssal Reef, and Overgrowth. So 3 2-player maps for this best of 3. We're going to jump into Newkirk Precinct for our first game right now.
Stats, 김대영. INnoVation, 이신혁.
Here we go, Fly Better Fly, Jin Air. As we go into map number 3, or match number 3, I should say. Stats down here at the bottom right. The yellow Protoss, it's his birthday today.
That's right. His opponent down to the bottom left in blue is INnoVation. She looks really handsome today. I don't know what it is. INnoVation is just such a clean, dangerous human that is probably actually a cyborg and we don't know. And I'll be the first, like, if it ever comes out that INnoVation was actually a product of the Korean government, it was like a machine, a prototype of like androids to come, I'll be the first to say, I told you so to everybody. I'm like, I knew it, I saw it before everybody else.
All those people calling him a robot in the beginning were actually correct. I don't know. I think it, could be true.
He's probably an android or an alien.
If he is, though, He definitely has some bugs in there, as we've seen many times. He goes for these really strong timing pushes, and if something goes wrong in the process, he kind of breaks down. He's like, oh, I don't know what to do. He'll hesitate in the middle of the map. He'll do circles. He'll go back and forth, trying to fix his bug, but doesn't really work it out most of the time.
So as you mentioned as well, it's really important to remember it's Stat's birthday as well, so there's that added pressure. There's a lot of ex-KT Roaster fans here that brought gifts to him and to us as well. Okay, checks the Nexus, and the Nexus cannot see the SCV, by the way. He's going to proxy, it looks like, factory here. So the SCV sees the Nexus. The Nexus does not see the SCV because it has less vision while building. So just to explain this further, buildings that are being constructed have almost no vision, but buildings that are completed have much larger. So there's the factory coming down. So this could just be a Widow Mine run by into the main base. This could be Cyclones. We don't know. INnoVation is trying to put the pressure on early. Back at home, he starts a reactor on his barracks. Has the Marine to deny scouting at the front of his base. Starts a second gas. With the reactor coming up on the barracks and no additional tech being made in the main base, I think this is just going to be some Widow Mine pressure unless he pulls up Cyclones. And this is Stats going for the Stargate, which is how he's been playing this matchup, just like Hero.
Yep, very standard. You want to put on pressure, keep the turn over there, and that's why Widow Mine drops are becoming so popular, because they hit right when that Oracle is across the map, when they're not at home, when they are using energy for other purposes. So you try to defend with a bunch of Marines out of a reactored barracks for this timing, and then on the other side of the map, your opponent doesn't have many units and doesn't have any detection for the Widow Mines, and it does a bunch of damage. Really stunts their economy. So definitely do like the build. You see, actually, that Stargate was rallied north for a second, but decides to put it towards the main.
This is really highly unusual, by the way. He's making the starport and the reactor on the factory. So
just wants to get out some Widow Mines pretty fast.
Yeah, and I guess he's going to have the ability to drop them as well with the starport proxy very quickly. But this is actually quite a liability to have your tech, both your starport and your factory, especially the starport this far away from home. If Stats eliminates those off the map, then he's not going to have medevacs for a long time, which means no pressure later. So this is designed, heavily committed to do a lot of damage early. If this just does okay, then Stats is going to be in a fantastic position. Already he's going to come over here and scout that the main base is a little bit unusual, right, as this is coming over. So INnoVation's going to have to micro his drop while defending at home, and Stats will have to do the same. Here comes the first attack.
Comes on in, and at the same exact time, as I was saying, the Widow Mines, they're going to burrow here. Is he paying attention? It doesn't look like it.
This is exactly what INnoVation wanted.
Last second.
Good pull there.
Yeah.
INnoVation attacked the second he saw the Oracle. He was like, oh, this is perfect. He's probably not going to be paying attention. Second mine, I think, got like one. Yeah, so he actually deals with both. This is disastrous for INnoVation now. Stats going to go very quickly identify where that the starport was placed. Now he can't make medevacs. Oops, that's a problem.
I just love that Stats keeps his second Oracle over here because this build is getting more and more popular. He's like, okay, I'm not going to go super aggressive with this. If he's going for this build, I can hold it off very easily. Going to drop out again. It's not going to burrow right away.
Okay, this is actually a really nice way to do this. He can actually cancel it, decides not to, just wants to take at least the 2 kills, force the pull. But the starport being away from the main base is a very, very big problem. Comes in with a second drop here, immediately the overcharge. He actually lifts one, the second one dies before it can burrow.
Ooh. Nice position there, no pull from Stats, he doesn't see it. Last second actually splits there.
This will be revealed, but there's a big enough split where he doesn't see the second one. Does he not realize? Okay, he knows. Probe's already on it.
Yeah, he actually just barely missed it there with the reveal.
Pulls his probes just to make sure the Widow Mine doesn't get retargeted there in its last firing. So he will finally clean this up, and this was very annoying for Stats to deal with. But there are a few things missing at home, right? Stim is just now starting. Okay, that's very late. He has +1 ahead of Stim. Late barracks and not a lot of medevacs. This is going to be cleared up as well. Oh, just barely not.
Oh, and the Oracle flies in.
Ouch.
Eee. That makes me feel a little bit queasy.
Oh, look at this. This is actually annoying, too. He's going to try to save this, it looks like. Or just fly his medevac in and die. I gave him too much credit there.
Or that, Wolf. Or that. You might actually lose a bunch of probes here. Not paying attention. Just going to get
forgot about this. Well, this is the weakness of not having Robotech. So, I mean, even though he didn't kill a massive amount of workers, it's been very frustrating. INnoVation's actually even in worker count. It didn't. The first drop didn't kill 8 workers, but he killed a lot eventually with the 1 kill, 1 kill, 1 kill, 2 kill here sort of follow-up where he basically heavily committed and there was not a reasonable amount of detection. This gets another kill, and I mean, this actually almost done too much damage. Like, how is this happening?
Look at that position where he drops. I wonder if he just knows the exact radius, you know, because he dropped it there right before the overcharge went
on. Oh my god, no way. He needs a robo. Like, this is just not enough. These will never fire on the gas probes, so eventually dispose the one over there.
He made a forge, but no cannons. And finally we do see the robo coming up. 2 more pylons. He's like, okay, I'm sick of this.
Well, this started off very lackluster, but eventually, because he split his Widow Mine so perfectly, and
he made so many too.
He made so many, split them very well, like just never properly dealt with by stats. It looks like this is finally going to be the end of it. We'll trade 1 more probe for it, and then the cannon will finish. Oh, no, we're not done yet. Observer's not out yet, by the way.
Where did this even come from? Why are there more? This is a crazy amount of damage. I mean, that early third base for stats, we were saying, okay, if he holds us off, he should be okay. But look at that standing army from all of this defense he had to put on. It's not very large compared to INnoVation's 2-base army.
This Widow Mine isn't even dealt with. He finally clears it now. Drops to come to the main base. Yeah, INnoVation massively ahead in terms of his army size. He has +1 now with all these units. That's not ready yet for stats. More Widow Mines coming out. That factory was just never dealt with.
Non-stop pumping out those Widow Mines.
Yeah, he's going to hit this third base. I don't think there's any way he can defend this.
He's tearing this Protoss apart right now. Stats, I think INnoVation, he saw no Robotech, and he's like, okay, I'll just keep making Widow Mines and eventually kill you, because you're not going to be able to deal with this with only Oracles.
Okay, Oracle's getting sniped down here, but he does end up clearing that drop finally, but he lost his third base for it, and INnoVation just has way larger of an army. His economy is better. There's just no AoE here for these units. Widow Mines up in the front. Big scan here. We want to get that observer. The robos right up here at the front. Widow Mines, very helpful when there's not consistent detection. GG. Oracle's there, just not able to clear them up. Lost so much mining. And INnoVation just constantly sending them back in. You know, when the first drop came in, all you use the INnoVation smirk. When the first drop came in, and Stats had the Oracle left at home, like you mentioned, I was really worried for INnoVation. He had to send his starport back across the map, but he just kept making Widow Mines at that factory. It was never dealt with, and made a few more medevacs. Then just had this non-stop harassment. There was no robo, there were no photon cannons. And that was a weak defense by Stats, not because he had like really poor micro or anything like that. It's just because it's so difficult without that consistent detection of an observer. Having to basically hit a skill shot for detection on units that don't have infinity energy eventually wore him down.
Yeah, really love the play there from INnoVation. You see that a lot of the times from the higher level players where they notice a hole in your builds and they exploit it. He's like, oh, you don't have consistent detection? Well, I'm just going to try to kill you with Widow Mines, because eventually you won't have that energy on your Oracles. But either way, guys, we're going into set number 2. Is going to be on Abyssal Reef. We'll see if INnoVation can take the 2-0 in first place. Here we go again. Abyssal Reef. For game number 2, up in the top left, it is Stats from Splice, wearing the yellow colors.
And down here, the bottom right, in blue, is INnoVation. Up 1-0 in the series.
INnoVation, we saw him on camera actually smirking in between games, and what was going on was he typed in the chat, like, Sugwashasumida was just like, oh, you know, you did well, it was a good game, basically. In Korean very politely, but he was just like waiting for the response because he knew that he had crushed Stats. He's like, yeah, I got this guy, and then Stats typed in the same thing. He just put like a bunch of those semicolons, which is basically like he's sweating, you know? And then an even bigger smirk came on INnoVation's face as he knew that Stats is feeling the pressure.
I mean, this is
so funny.
It's the level of, I want to say it's like basically the most polite trash talk, which in Korean culture is like the most stinging and the most rude in a way. And I mean,
because he says it in the most polite way, you know. And I think that Stats is older than him. I'm actually going to check that here because I have this very helpful sheet of the birthdays. Yeah, he's 1 year older than INnoVation. So it also makes sense.
Yeah.
But INnoVation saying that first is like, you know.
It's one of those things where you're basically, I'm trying to think of a comparison in English. It's almost just like having the same smirk INnoVation had and walking up to your opponent and giving him a weak hand shake and saying, good job. You know? It's basically
exactly.
Like, it's basically just like that, you know, is definitely next level. And obviously you guys couldn't see that in the chat, but we like to point these things out when we can watch the chat because Zeldas has the lobby on his PC.
It's just funny to me because we always talk about INnoVation being a robot. He doesn't smile. He has these, you know, super precise builds that hit these super crisp timings, but it almost is like an evil robot when he does something like that.
Yeah, well, imagine like
it's like a villain of SSL, man.
Well, what if like the cheating robot like beats you in the game and it just typed "good game" like with like a period at the end because
offensive
it's a program,
GG,
and like you're just like, well, it's just a program, but I'm so angry. So let's you know, take the focus back in game here on this much larger map of Abyssal Reef. It is 3CC coming out from INnoVation. So he went for a hyper aggressive build with the proxy, now going into 1 barracks into triple CC. Very greedy here. And knows the rush distance is longer. It's going to take longer for Stats' Stargate units to get across the map. The Oracle is specifically the first one. So we'll have a little bit more time to pull up those Marines. And Stats is playing a little bit on the defensive even, or he may potentially. We'll see how he decides to play this. So just positioning that Adept to stop a Reaper from jumping.
And you can see that INnoVation is adding the Engineering Bay in early too, just for safety. If you consider the way that the meta works in this matchup right now, the Protoss gets the 3rd base so much faster than the Terran, and usually the Terran stays on 2 bases and tries to defend, but then hit a really solid 2 base timing at the 3rd base of the Protoss and try to kill it. Generally, from there you can win the game, but the Protoss early on, it gets all that map control through basically just harassment units. You know, the Oracle comes out, some Blink Stalkers to poke, to control the map, deny drops that come out, but if you can get that 3rd base early and just defend against the harassment units, then you're not a base down on the Protoss anymore, and you can more easily get away with that on a big map like this, whereas if we're playing Overgrowth, and Stats scouts the 3rd CC with his Oracle, he might just follow up with 5 more gateways and a big all-in, whereas it'll be much, much harder to do that here on Abyssal Reef.
Exactly, so it's kind of a map-specific build. And to be honest, most maps, until recently, were all very similar in size. I feel like we've added this map, Abyssal Reef, that's so massive. Like, for a while, all the maps that we had in the pool were super generic and very much almost the same. Like, how many different versions of, like, Belshire Beach can be made, basically?
Yeah.
Until eventually, like, I'm like, okay, you guys called it Belshire. I'm like, that's, like, 1 letter different, okay? It's basically the same map. But, yeah, we have maps that are like this now, Abyssal Reef, that are just much larger. Still a 2-player map and still very much designed for that 1v1 combat with no chance in scouting, but this map adds some extra elements, so we see these triple CCs sometimes.
And it's not just big, but also the way that the map is designed too, with the rocks at the natural, at the ramp, it makes it much easier to defend, whereas generally mostly just see the bigger ramps nowadays instead of a small one like that with the rocks. And even the 3rd base is, you know, there's 2 different angles to come into that, but it's very close to your main. It's not even that far away from your natural. These 2 Adepts actually snuck in there as the depot is down, but not going to commit to that.
So 3rd base is up here for Stats. You talking about how much quicker that the Protoss is going to have that normally than the Terran, but in this case, INnoVation can land his 3rd base much faster than he would normally be able to. He has triple mules this entire time. And you can see with the 3 CCs, he's not as behind in worker count as he would normally be with the Chrono Boost against him. Also, Stats is using some of his Chrono Boost on these upgrades. The +1 coming out early, the Glaives upgrade. 5 gates being added as he wants to use those to secure this 3rd base and then potentially be aggressive with that War Prism so to counterattack and harass INnoVation if he moves out on the map. +1 is done, combat shield's a ways away, but the first medevacs are coming out a little bit delayed because he did go for the triple CC. So these adepts actually look like they committed to a shade here. That's going to cost them their lives, but they do scout the third base. So that's actually committed to quite a few sentries over there. It's a lot of gas spent for that. Perhaps not entirely sure what INnoVation was up to, a little bit nervous about that.
You can see what Stats is trying to do once he saw that third base. He's like, okay, time to go straight into macro mode. That's really funny that Marine, just because the Oracles misses the stasis ward, which may come into play a little bit earlier
He actually is using this Marine to confirm the third base, but even perhaps more than that, to trigger stasis wards for his follow-up attack, and he fails to trigger both.
He walks around it.
And look at this. The second he starts moving his army out of the main base, this War Prism is going to be over here waiting. He's actually waiting until he goes across the map with his army. Well, it looks like he was. He's going to cut it over here anyways. And look, the army is in the third base.
And the missile turret nicely placed here to get a couple of warning shots off. Say, hey, get out of my base.
Gonna pop the units into the medevacs here to get into the main base. So that's that extra mobility. Still gonna hit the third though, and INnoVation's army not responding there. So he's killing quite a few SCVs. 8-10 in total. Perhaps more.
That was mostly at the third base. I mean, a bunch of those adepts, they went into the main, they did a decent job targeting, but actually maybe the Oracles got some damage done too. But either way, that ends up paying off just in terms of hitting the economy. But at the same time, you know, that would have been a lot more deadly against a 2-base Terran. But 3-base Terran with still above 50 SCVs and 3 mules at a time pumping, I think he's still okay.
I mean, he definitely is. But INnoVation, if he decides to just play passively here, though, that's going to give Stats a window of time to get this, looks like 2 Robo Colossus tech completed. He's going to have 1-1 upgrades here. A second forge is coming up. The blink is going to be done. If he just sits back at defense because he says 3-base versus 3-base, Stats is even now taking a 4th, and he will have that tech. There was a window of time where he could have been really aggressive and drop and harass before the Colossi were out, but because of the threat of the Warp Prism, he has to stay home. That's the decision he's made. And it's definitely going to give Stats a larger window of time to get that Colossus range, get the 3rd and 4th Colossus out. 2-2 has started here, and INnoVation is just turtling at home with so many stasis wards to slow down the push.
Yeah. I love the stasis wards first and foremost, because the 4th base is going to be so much easier to hold, especially just with all the chokes around there. But at the same time, INnoVation's army is definitely still very scary. He added a 2nd starport, and he's pumping 4 Liberators at a time. We didn't see, you know, the range coming out here yet. Doesn't seem like he wants to commit to those buildings and that tech just yet, but definitely will have a high number of these Liberators once he eventually does go for the attack.
This harass is pretty annoying for INnoVation. Again, this is the main reason why he was unable to leave his base earlier. Now that he has the Liberators, he can just clear the Warp Prism. So now, finally, he feels free to move, but unbeknownst to him, there's a pylon right behind his building commands there, and the harass, even though this is a slow warp in of 6 adepts, will actually potentially force a cancel of this CC. Okay, this is actually a really crisp window of time before the 3rd and 4th Colossi come out that he could try to hit. Ooh, several getting stasis here, and that's not the last we're going to see of those. Doesn't even look for the command center cancel. He's going to go for harass. Several SCVs killed already. This is so frustrating for INnoVation to deal with.
Yeah, and they're actually shading into, or not even shading, they're running over there.
Oh, look at that. That's a huge stasis ward. That's about a 3rd of his ground army here.
That is gigantic.
And now
for
he's
Stats.
just going to kill the Liberators.
Half his army is just not fighting. He loses all the Liberators, and that's going to be an easy cleanup for Stats now.
And now he can kill the remainder of the army when the stasis fades off. Huge win. Huge, huge win. He's going to try to make these as valuable as possible before they die, but there's just not much he can do with them. Another Colossus comes out. Might be able to snipe that. That'd be nice.
It's close.
Just barely not going to get it.
Yep. It's got that +1 armor. Colossus picks up 6 kills just after it's born.
And the 3rd CC is only just now being rebuilt. And he failed to see the pylon. So it could be another warp, and that comes back to bite him once again.
Might not even need it. Stats, he crushed that army so hard that he's like, okay, I'm just going to go kill you now.
Yeah, he has the upgrades completed. He killed the Liberators. There's no way to deal with these Colossi. There's no Vikings coming out now, but very late. They're coming from behind to try to catch these Colossi, but they can walk up terrain, and they're just going to walk through here. Does get the one down here with the Vikings coming from behind. Good micro on the Prism, actually, to save it temporarily, but they're all super low. It's actually kind of an outmaneuvering of INnoVation on Stats here. He catches the Colossi, which was key. Now he's just taking a more straight-up engage. That wouldn't have happened, and then now Stats is trapped here with just gateway units.
Yeah,
so.
Stats, I think he may have overcommitted. I mean, if you look at the armies right now, he lost all of his Colossi. INnoVation just barely had enough Vikings to deal with that. And going up the ramp there, I don't know, you get totally surrounded by all the SCVs. Yeah, you take out 20, but still 46 remain. He has 4 orbitals now. Well, actually, it looks like that 4th command center is going to be a planetary. But either way, the economy is pretty good, and INnoVation crushes Stats' army. And now Stats is the one on the defensive saying, oh, okay, I got to build up my Colossus count now. And INnoVation gets back in the game.
Because the angle that he came up while he's walking up the ramp, like you said, it was so good for INnoVation because the gateway units were attacking structures and some of the reinforcing units. So they weren't fighting the meat of the army. They were not protecting the Colossi. He has Blink Stalkers, but none of them were shooting Vikings. So the Colossi were basically just one-shot by the Vikings, even with that cute Prism micro that cost him some DPS. And now here comes the bio. There's another Colossus here. Vikings are landed. They're probably going to flip back up once they see that Colossus, but he's going to kill this Nexus, and he might get more. He can quickly turn his attention to the mineral line of the 3rd base.
Looks like he's just going to take out that Nexus. There's no defense here from Stats. Going for the pylons first, so no overcharges, and that gigantic Marauder army of INnoVation that he committed to is doing some incredible work here after defending that kind of reckless push out of Stats before, and now INnoVation totally in the lead here in this game.
Uh-oh, Stasis Wards once again, though, a problem. It's probably best to just cut his losses and let those Marauders go. Can kill them.
Try to stim them away, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so risky to commit in there with those Marauders being missing. He does want to save them, though, and Stats just kind of looks for the poke here once they do fade off, so he does protect them. That was the best way to deal with it, I think, of INnoVation. Just back off, but still be around to save them once they popped out. Because Stats couldn't fight through this choke point against all these Vikings anyways, against the line of sight blocker. Well played, keeps the Vikings, or rather keeps the Marauders alive, and INnoVation now finds himself massively ahead in this game. This 3-3 is complete, right?
Yep, both of them are on 3-3 right now. And here we go, Stats, he wants to take the fight. He's down the ramp. INnoVation getting a lot of pop shots off, and all the Liberators are sent down here. The reinforcements from INnoVation on the right side is going to be what does it.
And he is going to take this one and go directly to the SSL Premier Grand Finals. Nice micro there at the end, but it won't matter. INnoVation with the better fight, with that sneaky flank there. Stats, I think you said it best, with a reckless attack, not prepared to deal with the flank, and now 72 to 31 army supply, the better economy. Even a planetary is not even a potential for run-bys at that base with Adepts. Gonna make another Archon here. He wants to hold on. He needed this win so badly to secure himself.
Yeah. But INnoVation with another quick 2-0. I mean, this is the day of 2-0s, man. Could be a quick day. And INnoVation just looking so undefeatable. GG. He does take the first place spot. We'll be going to the grand finals of SSL Premier Season 1 with an even bigger smile on his face this time.
Feels like INnoVation has this psychological advantage over Stats every time they meet each other. And today it really showed.
Yeah, I think Stats just got overexcited in game 2. He's like, oh, I got him. I won a big fight. And he had a 5th base. He denied the 4th base of INnoVation. He was so far ahead, he could have teched into Storm. He could have teched into even potentially, you know, Sky Toss, get some of those bigger units out there, that heavier tech, or maybe just go standard. But he had all these options to him, but instead he decided to go reckless, attack straight into the heart of the Terran, and lose all of his high-tech units to the Vikings that came out, get surrounded by the SCVs. And you could see on Stats' face, he's very unhappy about that loss, because I think he had a really good shot after winning that big fight with the Stasis Wards to take that game and force a game 3.
Definitely so. Now INnoVation secures his spot in the grand finals. Will take home $800 in fight money as well. Winning that 2-0, you get the extra prize there. So very impressive. INnoVation's run nearly flawless in the SSL Premier. And he gets a big cheer from the crowd as he goes up. We will have an interview with him as he has secured his place in the grand finals. That's going to be with our interviewer, Soo-hyun, our announcer. So we're going to jump into that in just a moment as the Korean commentators wrap up. We'll bring you guys the translation of SSL finalist INnoVation. Let's jump to it.
지키면서 결국에는 1위로 결승 직행을 확정지은 이신영 선수 만나보겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
INnoVation makes it to the finals in first place. Congratulations. He says thank you.
되셨어요. 소감 한마디 부탁드릴게요.
So, how do you feel
솔직히 이기기 좀 힘들
making it into the
거라고
finals?
생각을 했는데 생각보다 게임이 좀 잘 풀려가지고 되게 다행이고 또
He felt like he would have a pretty hard time today against Stats, but things went much better than he expected.
신기하네요.
혹시 오늘 이 김대엽 선수와의 경기가 남아 있었는데 김대엽 선수가 강한 상대라고 생각을
He's kind of surprised. He feels like it's kind of wondrous how he made it all the way here.
원래는 준비를 막 이렇게 빌드를 짜고 그렇게는 안 했었는데
네.
이제 이것만 이기면 1등 직행이니까 그래서 빌드를 좀 연구해서 그 변현우 선수가 썼더라고요. 그래서
I don't really plan builds ahead of time when I come into these matchups,
그럼 그 1세트에서의 그 빌드
but I really wanted to make it to the finals.
좀 자세히
So he did a lot of research before coming into the match against Stats today. And you could tell in his builds, man, he was really well prepared for what Stats had planned.
Definitely. His first map was so well executed too. I feel like many other Terrans would have just given up there.
예언자 많이 하기는 하는데 뭐
So I was asking about the build in set 2, you know, what, how you got that prepared.
안 해봤어요. 많이 그냥
Talking about the 3 CCs.
VOD만 보고 그냥 따라한 거여가지고 그냥 편하게 임했는데 생각보다 상대가 좀 예상대로 해줬던 것 같아요.
그러면 VOD만 보고 연습을 하셨다고 하셨는데 상대는
So he basically said he'd researched a lot of builds and he wasn't super prepared against, I think the Colossus style is what he's describing, and he just feels like Stats kind of threw that game away though, so that was his overall thoughts at the end.
네, 그럼 그 선수에게 한마디 하셔야죠.
영시야 고맙다.
So he basically said he played a few games of Classic, about 3 he said, and Myungshik has also been helping him prepare. So 2 ex-SKT players that he used to live and practice with, helping him prepare for the match.
테란들이 힘들어해가지고
네.
So anyone specifically you'd like to meet in the finals?
그래도 프로토스가 좀 더 나은 것 같긴 해요.
프로토스전이 더 낫다. 알겠습니다. 오늘 김대엽 선수의 생일인 거.
So he'd rather face a Protoss than a Zerg, he says, in the grand finals.
생일 선물 하셨나요?
오늘 지면 제가 오늘 졌으면 그게 생일 선물이었고 제가 이겼으니까 이제 생일 선물 드릴.
It's also Stats' birthday. He said happy birthday as he crushed him.
알겠습니다. 김대엽 선수가 사실 그 일방적으로 1세트 졌잖아요.
He says it would have been a good birthday present if he lost, but he didn't. He didn't want to lose. There was too much on the line.
표정이 정말 안 좋았거든요.
So he says maybe he'll buy him a gift certificate or something like that.
The lowest tier of gifts.
좋은 날에 패배를 안겨드려서 죄송하고.
I had to give him a Tom and Toffee gift card, man.
생일 저녁 남았는데 재밌게 잘 보내시길 바랄게요.
알겠습니다.
So
김대엽 선수가 마음이
basically,
풀렸으면 하는 바람이고 어쨌든 플레이오프 진출.
sorry for not giving you a loss on such a momentous occasion as your birthday. Anyway, I hope you spend your evening well. Such an INnoVation interview here.
Man.
This is the greatest.
생각이 드는데요. 마지막 각오 한마디 부탁드리겠습니다.
깔끔하게 결승 진출 확정.
So any final words before you head to the finals?
오랜만에 이제 결승 무대인데 준비 열심히 해서 결승에서 또 강한 선수이기 때문에 우승할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 지금까지 플레이오프.
So it's been a while since his last finals match. So he's going to prepare very hard and show good performance in the finals. And I'm pretty sure that he will. He has been the #1 player in the league here at SSL Premier for quite a while, really securing that spot as he did tonight, finally. Guys, we're going to be jumping into set number 4, match number 4 here, Solar versus Alive. Stay tuned, by the way, 10 questions, 10 answers with Solar here in the break. So definitely check that out, guys, and we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes.
feel it